So today we are finishing up chapter 3. It's all about translations. This is section 3.7, and our objective is to identify and use translations. So this does not need to be in your notes, but it is important to look at. What we are starting to learn today is a big group of things called transformations. Okay, so transformations is sort of a blanket statement for taking an object and changing it in some certain way. So, kind of like the Transformers, right? They change back and forth between two forms. Same thing here. A translation, and you don't need to write this down either, a transformation is when you take an object and you flip it, or you turn it, or you shrink it, or you enlarge it. We are not going to cover all those transformations today, but you can see in section 5.7, 7.6, and 11.8, we will cover the rest of these transformations. The only one we're going to talk about today is actually the easiest one. It's a translation. So transformation is sort of the blanket statement over all of them. Translation is the one we're learning today.
Okay, we're writing this one.
This is the one you actually do have to write, yes. So, the first two bullet points are the ones I want you to have in your notes. So again, transformation, sort of the blanket statement. It covers all these different things like rotating, shrinking, enlarging. The one we're going to focus on today, though, I think is the easiest one. This is the one for translation. Translation is basically a fancy way to say you're sliding something around. So you're moving it left, right, up, down. You're not shrinking it. You're not enlarging it. You're not flipping it. All you're doing is just sort of shifting it in different directions. So it's kind of tricky. They're both T words. They sound very similar, but transformation includes a lot of different other things. Translation is just the sliding around. If you want a way to keep those clear, translation has the L in it, so does the word slide. So transformation does not have an L, so translation is a slide. This is another vocab word. So, image is very important here. Image is, write what it says here. The new figure after a transformation is done. Okay? So this applies to any transformation, not just translations. But you start with your original, and then you do whatever you're doing. So today we'll just be sliding it around. But the new one is called the image. So if you hear me say image, you should assume it's the one after all the changes were made. So draw these in your notes. Obviously you don't have different colors, so you can just make them all black and white. Pay attention to where this line is located. You need it in both your figures. So the question here is decide whether the red figure is a translation of the blue figure. So did they start with the blue and slide it over in order to make the red? Yes. For number 1, this is yes. If you don't write the directions, that's fine, but you do need to draw the pictures and write the word yes for number 1. You can see they just took this one and slide it over, you get this one. What about number 2? Can you just slide it over to make the red one? No, that one involves a rotation. We're not talking about rotations today. We're just sliding. Translations. And then 3, is that just a slide?
No.
No, you can see that it looks like they shrunk it. So, the reason 1 is yes is because they just slid the image over. 2, they rotated it. 3, they shrunk it. Raise your hands if you have questions on number 1. So again, our directions are telling us to basically just decide if a translation is what happened here. So it says the white figure is a translation of the shaded figure. So start with the shaded figure, do some sliding around, you end up with the white figure. Is that true for number 1?
Yes. No, it was rotating.
Yeah, it looks like they flipped it.
But it's white. So how is it not?
So if you start with this and you slide it over, the arrow would be pointing to the right, right? But it's pointing to the left. So they did some sort of flipping. So this one's a no. What about number 2?
Yeah, no.
No, they actually, it looks like it might actually be stretched out a little bit and it's rotated. So this one's a no. Number 3 is a yes. That's definitely just a translation.
When it starts with the dark thing,
Yeah, you can slide in any direction. So they just slid, it looks like left and then down. Questions?
Wait.
Right. All right, so on this one, I actually just want you to write the second bullet point in your notes.
we just write A as A prime.
Just write what's in the box. It's an extra 2 words. All right, so prime, you already heard me talking about prime when we were going through the warm-up. But this says whenever you see points like A, B, C, and another point where it looks like there's like a little tick mark up in the upper right, this one we call it a prime. So this is A prime, B prime, C prime. Those are the new ones, okay? Those are the images. So if you see an A and an A prime, you would start with A, and A prime is where you'd go. All right, the little tick mark is not an exponent. When you do it by hand, it sort of appears like it's like an exponent of 1. A lot of students think that by mistake. It's not. It's more like an apostrophe. But it simply just means it's a different way to write point A. So it's point A after some things were done to it. We call it A prime. What are your questions on primes? So we are trying to describe the translation. So you can see here that this is point C, and this is point C prime. Everybody see the little prime?
No.
It's right there. It's kind of hard to see.
Oh, now I see it.
I'll add it. And then this is the original D, and this down here is D prime. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
So you always start with the original, and you move to the prime. So I want to describe in words how you'd go from C to C prime, D to D prime. It should be the same thing, okay, because we're moving the whole image. So can you describe in words how to go from here to here? We did this when we were discussing our warm-up. Like if I was here and you were here, how would you tell me to find you? Max?
To the right 3 and then down 5.
Yes, so right 3. And I always want you to do left and right first. And then down, I think it might be down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you just miscounted, which is kind of hard when it's far away. So you can check by using the other points. So Max focused on C to find this, but D should work too. So right 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. It works, okay? So this is the translation that was done on the figure on the board for part A. What are your questions? Now, when there's more parts or there's like some sort of figure, I like to focus in on a specific point and then make sure you follow that. Or if it's just a figure, you can focus on that part. Sometimes they're not labeled with letters. But let's focus on like the left point of the triangle. Here it's labeled X. So I want to see, well, what would you do to get over to here, X prime? So can someone describe that one for me? Yes. Yeah, we're going left 5, and then we're going down 2. Perfect. And you can check Y and Y prime the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Z to Z prime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. All right. What are your questions? So next we're going to learn a bit of a fancier way to write what we just wrote. So instead of using words like left and right, we're going to use things like plus and minus and relate it to the X and Y values. So in your notes, I want you to have a section called coordinate notation. And then I'm going to shorten it up for you. When you move right, that's like adding to the x value. When you move left, that is like subtracting from the x value. Remember, x value always tells you what to do left and right. So if you want to move it left and right, you would do that change on the x.
So what do we write?
What I'm underlining and circling.
Wouldn't it just be easier to say like left instead of all that stuff to the right?
You can shorten this up even further if you'd like. You just need to know that if I want to move right, I need to add it to the x values. If I want to move left, I need to subtract it from the x values. Up, you're adding to the y. And then down is also a change to the y, but this time you want to subtract. So if these were my own notes, I would probably write the word right and then put like add to x or something like that. So you can shorten it in any way you want, but you need to know that changes left and right happen to the x, changes up and down happen to the y. And of course, when you want to add, or sorry, when you want to move up or right, you're going to add. When you want to move down or left, you're going to subtract.
So you say when you go to the right, you just like right adding to the
So do you remember in the warm-up where...
switch it for the plus sign.
Yeah, so like remember in the warm-up it said like x plus 2, and that made all of our x values go right 2? That's what we're doing here. So instead of saying right 2, we would just say x plus 2. That would move the whole point to the right. So it's sort of just like a fancier way to write it. But anytime you have an x, you have a y too, so you do something to the y's as well. I think it was y minus 1 in your warm-up. So remember, when we were adding 2 to all those points, they were moving to the right, and when we were subtracting 1 from the y, they were moving down. So that is called coordinate notation. So it's basically just a fancier way to write up, down, left, and right. So for example 4, you don't need to draw the graph. Again, I don't think your graphs will be precise enough to show how many units you're moving since you don't really have all the graph paper with you. So just go ahead and write the answer so that you can see exactly how I want the notation. So again, focus in on some point of the figure. I'm going to focus on like the right tip of this diamond. So describe how to go from this one to this one. The image is always the one that's dashed. Okay, so these are the prime points. These are the original points. So how would you go from here to here?
Move it to the right or image it once, then plus it 5 times.
Okay, so you're going to move it to the right once and then up 5 times. When you move it to the right, you add to your x value. Remember, changes left and right happen to your x. Up and down happens to your y. So I need to add to my x and add to my y 5. So that's your answer. It's actually already on the board. So under example 4, you can just write the answer. This will show you exactly what the notation looks like. Now, some teachers require you to write the whole thing. This is saying you start with your x, y. The translation is to add 1 to your x, add 5 to your y. This is the part that I am most concerned with. So if you have this, as far as I am concerned, you are good.
So what we got right?
What's in the box? Right, what's in the box, example 4. Questions? So for number 5, they kind of help you out on here. They give you these arrows. So it looks like you're starting here and you're going to the right. We just need to figure out how many units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to say right. Right 7. Right 7 means we're doing what?
Adding 7 to the x.
Adding 7 to the x. Okay, so this is just describing it. This is in coordinate notation. I actually want you to have both since you're not drawing the picture. We're going to describe what's happening in the picture, then we're going to write it in coordinate notation. So we have the transformation from left to right. Let's now do the up and down part.
Add 2 to the y.
Yeah, we're going up 2. So we're adding 2 to the y. Good. Again, this should all be in your notes. We're describing it in words since I'm not making you draw the graph. And we're describing it in coordinate notation by saying what's happening to the x, what's happening to the y. And if you're unsure where to start, I said this on the last one, but I'll just remind you, the one that's solid, that's the original. The one that's dashed, that's the image. So how would you go from here to here?
Minus 4y.
We always go left and right first. So let's focus on our x's first.
Yeah, so minus x from that way, right?
From the x, right? So this will be x minus 4. I want to describe it in words as well, so this is going to be left 4.
I was thinking of going that way first. I thought the top one was y, so I'm not sure what we're
Minus.
Then we're going down 4. How would you go down?
Subtract y to the 5.
Yeah, you would subtract from the y. So we're actually subtracting from both. Is it 4? Let me back up. I think it's 4, right? Let me count.
5.
1, 2, 3. I'm counting 4.
Counting 1.
Hold on, look at the board. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh.
1, 2. Yep, it's 4 and 4. Sorry, well, someone said 5 and then I just ran with it. So in coordinate notation, it's x minus 4 and y minus 4. You're taking 4 away from both. Remember, left and rights, those changes happen to your x. Up and downs, those happen to your y. What are your questions on this?
I'm still right to that. Okay.
So on your homework, section 3.7, the first section, the directions say decide whether the image on the right is a translation of the figure on the left. So number 1, what do you think? No. The reason is that it's flipped. You don't need to know that that's the reason. You don't need to tell me that's the reason. But you do need to know that no, that is not a translation. Alright, so 1 through 6, you're just saying yes or no. Numbers 7, 8, and 9 go along with the graphs below labeled A, B, and C. We're supposed to match them. So number 7 says 4 units to the right, 2 units down. So from the solid triangle or rectangle to the dashed one, which one shows a translation 4 units to the right and 2 units down?
B.
B, good. So then 8, you have to decide if it's A or C. 9, A or C, and then you'll be done with that section. That's all matching. Jump down to number 10. This says describe the translation using words, then describe using coordinate notation. So from D to D prime, it looks like you're going left. Can anyone decide how many units to the left? 1, and then you're going up.
2. 3, 4.
4. Yep. So that is it described in words, but they want us to do both. And in order to get full credit on your homework, you need to do both. How would I move left 1?
X minus 1.
X minus 1. Good. How would I move up 4?
Y minus 1.
Up.
Y plus 4.
Y plus 4. Good. And then number 13 is just sort of like a problem-solving question, so read over that, and it's just a yes or no. What questions do you guys have over this section, section 3.7?